Hello everyone, welcome back to Relax with Animal Facts. I am Stef Wolfe, and today I am going to be learning with you about our furry, scaly, or possibly even slimy friends. And in today's case, it is definitely going to be a furry friend of ours because we are covering the oh so wonderful Shrew. This is a very special listener episode dedicated to Bella, who wrote in and requested this wonderful creature. Thank you, Bella, for writing in, and I hope you enjoy your very own episode. For how to request your animal and your own episode, as well as which resources were used for this episode, all of that information is in the show notes or the description, but it will also be covered at the very end of the episode. For those of you that love the Relax with Animal Facts podcast and would like more of it, there are exclusive episodes that are uploaded to Patreon at patreon.com/relaxwithanimalfacts. And just one quick announcement before we hop into our episode. I want to welcome Haley to the Relax with Animal Facts team. Haley is going to be writing articles for Relax with Animal Facts under the articles section, and those articles will be starting up very soon. And now we are going to begin to slow down just a little bit. As always, there are two things that I must ask of you. In this case, we are not diving into the sea, and so we can leave our scuba gear to the side. But I ask that your shoes are on and tied on, double knotted, because today we are going to be trekking into some forests. The second and maybe more important thing is for you to do your best Jell-O impersonation. We all carry tension in different ways. For one of you it might be in your head, for another it might be in your shoulders. We all differ in this way, but my exhortation to each and every one of you is the same. We do not really need any of that tension where we are going. So do your best to relax your body and impersonate that piece of Jell-O, and allow your mind to wander and journey with me into this temperate forest in Croatia where the Shrew resides. This broadleaf forest in Croatia gives us a symphony of a natural orchestra. The crunch of sticks and leaves underneath our feet, the swaying of these crooning trees. It all makes for quite a soundscape. But while we are here in Croatia, we could be in many other parts of Europe and even Asia. The Shrew has a large distribution, including European countries like Albania, Andorra, Austria, Belgium, Bosnia, Bulgaria, Czech Republic, as well as enjoying the forests in Central, East, and Western Asia. They of course enjoy forests and temperate grasslands, but some shrews will even enjoy parts of the tundra. Some of these European countries are not exactly the warmest, but for the shrew this is no challenge. Now, the shrew is in the family of Soricidae. As is frequently the case, the scientific name can tell us something about the animal it's describing, and the root word sori means mouse in Latin, and this creature does in fact bear resemblance to the mouse. But they are not rodents like mice are. But the shrew of this family of Soricidae includes any of more than 350 species of insectivores that have a very mobile snout covered with whiskers that are long and sensitive and overhang their lower lips. One of the easiest markers to tell apart a general mouse and a shrew is that the shrew will have that long pointed snout. Mice, of course, have a different head shape, and so while the lower half of their body might not distinguish them very well, the upper half certainly does. They will be about 3 to 4 inches long with a 4-inch tail, weighing in at an average of 1 ounce. They will live between 1 to 2 years of age, so the shrew is clearly not that large of a creature, at least not relative to some of the large creatures we have covered on the show, like hippos or giraffes. But to their insect prey, these are formidable giants. They have teeth that are large incisors that are used like forceps to grab prey. The upper pair of these incisors is hooked, and the lower pair extends forward to create this chomping or trapping mechanism. They are long, slender, and cylindrical in their body shape, and sport clawed digits that are used for a variety of purposes that we will cover in just a moment. They have eyes that are particularly small, but can usually be seen past their coat of fur. Their ears are also rounded and seem to blend in very well with their body. Now, we learned the tail length of the common shrew, but we must keep in mind that there are many shrews, in fact, more than 350 different kinds of shrews. There is the short-tailed shrew, which of course is not going to sport that 3-inch long tail, but considerably smaller. So for our purposes today, we will be covering mostly the common shrew. The differences between males and females in shrews are not very succinct. It is not immediately obvious to the human eye, especially to the untrained human eye, to spot the difference between the two. Now, this creature opts for a better sense of smell, unfortunately, at the detriment of their intelligence. The cerebral hemispheres of the shrew's brain are small, but the olfactory lobes that are responsible for smell are much more prominent instead. The shrews have no need of working out the inner world of quantum mechanics, nor do they have to memorize periodic tables. An enhanced sense of smell is going to be of much more use to the shrew than anything else. In terms of behavior, the common shrew is a very solitary creature. It will prefer to spend much of its time alone and doing its own thing in hunting and sleeping. They love being solitary so much that this animal will fiercely defend its home range against any outsiders. That term, home range, refers generally to the area in which a creature will spend all of its time. So if an animal's home range is 1 kilometer, it means that it will spend its time hunting, sleeping, roaming around within that 1 kilometer, and as is often the case, and as is the case with the shrew, they will defend this home range as best as they can. Another behavior of the common shrew is that they are generally nocturnal. I say generally because I am not able to say totally. They will on average spend more time hunting and roaming around during the night time, but they can be active during both the day and the night, and often are. It will rest during alternate periods of time during the 24-hour day, forming a style of work that would be really interesting if replicated in humans. This sleep pattern is interesting to think about in terms of us as human beings. Let's imagine you go to work for 3 hours, then you come home and sleep for an hour and a half, and then go back and work again and come back to sleep again. This sounds ridiculously exhausting and not at all time efficient, at least as we humans are concerned. So I have no scruples about relinquishing this style of work to the shrew. It seems to work for them quite well. They will spend about an hour to 2 hours on average searching and hunting, after which the shrew will rest, oftentimes in its nest. They will sometimes opt to sleep wherever they can or wherever is comfortable. That really mobile nose that it has, paired with sensitive whiskers, gives them a lot of information as to what is going on in the world. While they're looking around, they will also give their characteristic high-pitched whines or sounds. With their claws, they will either dig burrows or simply use one that is left over from the hard work of another shrew or by another small mammal. They create their own system of runways in the vegetation, beating all the traffic by simply creating their own highways. They have extraordinarily high metabolisms. Now, before we go on, there is another word that we often take for granted, or one in which we use all the time but would be hard-pressed if asked to give a definition. What is metabolism exactly? We imported that word from the French, which the French imported from the Greek, metabole. All that word means in the Greek language is a change. And so what is going on in metabolism is a change, specifically a change from food into energy. Food, by biological processes, are converted into energy. The calories that we ingest through food, as well as through certain drinks, mix with oxygen to make the energy that the body needs to function. So when we say that the shrew has a high metabolism, it means that they convert food into energy very quickly. The consequences of this is that they will constantly need nourishment. They will need to intake food to supplement the speed at which it is converted into energy. Other animals that have very slow metabolisms, like the sloth or koala, for example, are able to eat large amounts at one time, in which they just lay back and allow their bodies to do their thing. The shrew, however, has to eat every 3 to 4 hours to maintain energy as well as body heat. Shrews are primarily insectivores, as we learned in the beginning of the show. What distinguishes insectivores from carnivores is not that they both feed on flesh or other animals. It is that the living animals that are primarily consumed are those of small invertebrates and insects. The shrew, however, is known from time to time to prey on small mammals and sometimes even enjoy a vegetable dish of some kind. So some of the things that they eat include beetles, snails, grubs, grasshoppers, nuts and seeds, seedlings, mice, and vegetation. So they have a very wide range of options to eat from. Now, we learned just a moment ago that when they are rummaging around on the ground, they will use that little nose of theirs in combination with whiskers and with small high-pitched noises. And the reasons they are making those noises and the reason they are making these noises while looking around is because it gives them something from the environment. An animal's use of sound to determine locations of anything in their environment is defined as echolocation. We've learned about other creatures that use echolocation, like bats, for example. The more information about one's environment, the better, and the shrew implements echolocation in its discovery of the world around it. Now, while the shrew might look small, they are actually one of the most voracious mammalian predators that we have on Earth. We must simply be grateful that they are the size that they are. In the United Kingdom specifically, there are about 50 shrews per hectare of woodland. That's about 2.5 acres. This indicates that in the United Kingdom alone, countrywide, there are more than 40 million shrews, and their way of navigating the world is not at all ineffective. Researchers experimented with dummy prey objects to see just how discerning the shrew can be. They would place plastic objects of different sizes and of different shapes, and found that the test shrews would attack plastic replicas of crickets, but not of other plastic objects of a similar size. They would alter the shape of these plastic crickets by gluing on additional body parts, and it revealed that the jumping legs are the giveaway for the shrew as to what to attack and what not to attack on this plastic cricket. while the head was pretty inconsequential and would result in them just walking right past it. Many shrew species are venomous. Researchers have found that an individual shrew stores enough venom to kill 200 mice. Some shrews will use this venom for something known as live hoarding. Now, this might be one of the more terrifying mechanisms that animals employ, and here is how the shrew employs it. They do not have the hollow fangs that other creatures like venomous snakes have to inject their venom, but they instead have a gland that allows saliva to flow with venom. So when the shrew finds its prey, which is often an invertebrate insect, but remember it could also be a very small mouse or vertebrate, it will begin to bite it and allow the venomous saliva to flow into the wound. The venom of the shrew has a paralytic effect which stops the creature from moving, but retains the consciousness of the creature. And so its prey that is very much alive but cannot move will be moved by the shrew to some sort of a cache or storage unit that they have that is available for them whenever hunting is not going so well on a certain day. Having this organic storage unit for little invertebrates or vertebrates ensures that they have a meal ready to go whenever they'd like. Now, shrew bites on humans are reportedly painful but will indeed fade away in just a few days. So this live hoarding mechanism I did not expect to see in the shrew, but hiding behind that cute little face is some seriously sinister stuff. Now let us go through some short little factoids about the shrew. When they are looking for food, they are able to detect prey as deep as 12 centimeters beneath the ground. This is a very impressive distance and can be chalked up to its ways of locating different things with their whiskers, nose, and echolocation. The razor-sharp teeth of the shrew does not grow continuously, which is a stark difference between them and rodents. They will eat between 80 to 90% of their body weight per day, and with this hefty diet, they grab 4th place in the world for most successful family of mammals. When we say most successful, we are referring specifically to the population. So the success of the shrew in reference specifically to their reproductive success is very high. And in terms of reproduction, the shrews will have baby shrews 1 to 3 times per year, typically opting for the warmer months. After a gestation period of only about 21 days, so 3 weeks, a female shrew will give birth to 2 to 10 young at one time. So we see why exactly they can be given the title of 4th most successful mammal on Earth. The heart of the shrew can beat up to 700 beats per minute. For reference, human beings have an average of about 70 beats per minute. This would make their heartbeat on average about 10 times faster than us. Now let us move on to the name of the animal, shrew. Where does that come from, or what does it mean? The term shrew is used to describe a small insectivorous mammal and apparently goes back to an Old English word screwa, which means shrew mouse. And this Old English word has an entirely uncertain origin. The Oxford English Dictionary, which is one of the greatest authorities when it comes to the English language, calls the absence of the word shrew when used in the specific animal sense remarkable. The term shrew was often used, but was used in a derogatory or insulting way rather than as a biological distinction for a creature. The term shrew would be flung at somebody that a person deemed a rascal, an evildoer, an undisciplined child, and others. It could go all the way back to a Middle High German word Shruel or Schroel. I'm sorry if I am butchering that, but this word means devil. The word was used as early as the 13th century and was used to describe any sense of a spiteful person, whether male or female, and supposedly it could be derived from the fact that the shrew has a venomous bite. As we have learned on previous episodes, sometimes etymologies are not all clean and pampered. Sometimes etymologies are not clean-cut and wonderfully ordered. Language can be a messy process, and the way by which languages change is not always well documented, and so it is in the case of the shrew. Now let us move on to the review portion of the episode. This review is written by Karen in Ohio, who wrote in all the way from the United States of America, specifically from Columbus, Ohio. And Karen writes, "Thanks for the delightful podcast. Stef's voice is calm and evokes a sweetness, which I think is indicative of his enjoyment in presenting this podcast as well as his genuine interest in animals. Would love an episode featuring the bush baby. My daughter, who lives several states away in Montana, has also begun listening. It's another way for us to connect." Thank you very much, Karen, for leaving that review. There is such an abundance of kindness in this message, and I am so glad that this podcast can have any sort of effect like this in your life and in the lives of all of you listening. I am also glad, Karen, that you and your daughter can bond more over this podcast, and so I give a shout out to Karen's daughter in Montana. You guys rock, and your listenership means the world. If you enjoy the show and the show gives you any bit of enjoyment, or even if you don't like the show very much and would like to tell me why, leaving a review is one of the best ways that you can help grow the show and make it better. Your participation by joining me in the oceans, in the forests, and in the mountains is gift enough. But if you are stirred up by generosity and would like to help the show, this is one of the best ways to do so. If you would like to request an animal for the show, you can do so in one of three ways. You can send a message to Relax with Animal Facts on Instagram. You can go to relaxwithanimalfacts.com and click on the Animal Request tab. And lastly, you could always send an email to relaxwithanimalfacts@gmail.com. I look forward to all of your requests, and I always enjoy learning about what animal you love. If you would like more of the Relax with Animal Facts podcast, including exclusive episodes about extinct animals, mythical animals, and possibly many other kinds, you can join the Patreon by clicking on the Patreon link below in the description, or by going to patreon.com/relaxwithanimalfacts. The facts that were used in this episode come from haveaheart.com, blog.nature.org, animalia.bio, and etimonline.com. This episode would not have been possible without all of their contributions. I am of course not in myself a library of encyclopedic information, but I rely on the solid contribution of others in order to make these episodes. Thank you all for joining me in this temperate forest in Croatia. The humble shrew was hiding so many secrets behind its little furry self, and I am so glad that we got to explore all of those today. I hope that you will all join me on the next podcast episode with the next animal. Take care.